Okay guys, welcome to another video, and I'm delighted to have my old mucker, Mr. Lukozer. How you doing, Squire?
Not too bad. I have a feeling we're going to be courting controversy with this one.
Yeah, if any of you guys have watched the first video I did with Chris, it was what did we call it? Was it? What was it?
Uh,
It was the concise top 20 worst video games ever, wasn't it?
yes, yeah. Needless to say, it was not ever going to use the title that I had in mind. But
I run a very family friendly channel, don't you know? So.
yeah, guess what? I don't.
But it was a really good video. It was a fun video to put together. And to be fair, I said to you after we made it, I says I'm guaranteed this video is going to get a lot of thumbs down. And I think we've only had one out of about 350 views, which was quite surprising. But
I'm shocked about that.
you know, at the end of the day, people
get a lot more.
Well, once you've seen my list, it certainly will. But see, at the end of the day, people, what you need to understand, it is just our opinion, nothing more. Our opinion is no more credible than anybody else. You know, and at the end of the day, I think there's a bit of humour involved from both sides as well. You make videos; they've got to be fun to make, and you know, people enjoy. We try and make them entertaining as well. So you know. Don't take everything we say as read. It's just our opinion.
Yeah, that's something a lot of people seem to forget, especially the people who check the videos on my channel. So I think a reminder would be more than useful.
So you've seen the title. No, I've not named it yet, but you'll have obviously seen the title.
Yeah, we'll come up with a title at some point. Yeah.
We'll work. It's just whatever thing. Yeah, it kind of evolves. What we're going to talk about tonight is Chris and I have both gone away independently, I hasten to add, and come up with 5 games across any. Well, I think did we say 16-bit and 8-bit computers? I think it was.
Yeah. 4 of mine are 8-bit. They're all Commodore 64. One of them is Amiga.
Yeah, that's exactly the same as myself. But we haven't included any console games or console. We haven't included any console games in this at all. And before I start, I am not saying that these are bad games. Far from it at all. Technically, some of these games are amazing. I just can't. Whether it's I'm getting old, whatever. But I never liked them from day one. I tried to play them and never liked them. So I'm not saying these are bad games. They're just games that probably are extremely popular with 99% of people, but we just don't get on with them.
Yeah, we're in the 1%. That definitely applies with mine. At least, actually, I'll say at least, no, all of mine, they are extremely popular, but yeah, well, they vary from I just can't get on with them to, well, there's 2 of them in particular I absolutely cannot stand, but yeah, we'll leave it at that for now until we start going through them.
Well, since you're the guest, Chris, I'll let you kick off. What is now, in no particular order, what is your first game that is extremely popular but you don't like?
Right, get ready for a few thumbs down for this one. This one is Turrican for Commodore 64. Now, straight away, yeah, I can hear the complaints already.
Can I ask you, Chris, for a second? Is it similar? I've never played Turrican on the C64. Is it similar to the Amiga, or is it 2 different games?
Well, I'm assuming it's similar because I've never played the Amiga version, but I would imagine they play more or less identically. I've seen a few reviews of it. All of the 64 version. I think the only difference, obviously graphically, it looks better, but I think the Amiga version has music playing throughout, whereas the 64 version doesn't.
Yeah, I think the Amiga one it's got one. Is it Your Own Tale? I can't remember exactly. It's one of the games that people talk about. It's got some of the best music. But so
Right.
we're talking specifically about the C64 one. So
Yes, specifically the C64 one. Now, okay, from a technical perspective, yes, the game looks fantastic. The sound effects are a bit sparse, but they work really well. Okay, so I'm not saying it looks awful. It doesn't. Only an absolute idiot would say it looks crap. You know. So it looks great. It's when it comes to actually playing it. I just cannot, and I have tried plenty of times, I just cannot get into it at all. And there's one very big reason for it. So you have, like, you know, your regular weapon, you're firing away and what have you, and then you can, it's either you hold down the fire button and you get this movable beam that comes on and can destroy everything. And then I think if you press spacebar, it fires out this like smart bomb thing from either side of you and takes out everything. And then you press another key and you turn into this like you almost look like a circular saw blade, and you're invincible while you're in this mode and everything else. And I'm seeing all this, and I'm trying to play it, trying to remember all of this, and I'm just thinking, right, I'll use a prime example here for both of us with Berserk. Right now, the thing that I really loved about Berserk is it's extremely challenging, but also extremely simple to play.
Yeah.
As soon as you look at it, you know exactly what you got to do. It's it's blindingly obvious. And then you get this. You've got to remember, right? Okay, what mode do I have to be in to get to that part here? Do I have to be the circular saw blade thing, or can I just walk in there and right, what weapon do I have to use to take out this particular and it drives me insane. So I'm spending the whole time sitting here trying to remember what I've got to use in order to progress, and because I'm constantly focusing on that, I'm not focusing on what I'm seeing on the screen, and I'm certainly not focusing on how good the game is, because I've got to remember all this other guff that goes with it. And
I'm sitting watching it. I'm watching a video at the moment and a sort of thumbnail, and it does look very impressive. So down the bottom you've got various bombs and whatnot. So would you say it's almost like overcomplicated then?
Yeah, that's the big problem with it. Now, I dare say there'll be plenty of people out there who will say, no, it's not complicated at all. But, I mean, we both come from the generation where, when we started playing video games, we were playing Space Invaders. We were playing, Berserk, stuff like this, where it was just, left, right, up, down, fire. That was it. That was all you needed to know. Now with this, and, I mean, it's not even 10 years on from the days of Space Invaders and Berserk and Gorf and whatever. We come to this, where it's just so much I've got to remember. Right, okay, right, yeah, I've got to, press space to do this one, and then press whatever other key, right, to do this one. And I'm spending the whole time desperately trying to remember what it is I've got to use to get anywhere, that I can't even begin to focus on actually enjoying playing the game. And consequently, I don't enjoy it at all.
So how does it work then? Again, I'm looking at the screen here. Presumably you've got different icons along the bottom. Can you pick up more than one weapon at any one time? So you've got to like you've got, I see there, you've got a sort of, I think you hold down the fire button and you've got a kind of laser that sort of...
Yes, see, that's it. You hold down the fire and you have this laser which you can then guide. You move the joystick round and it will fire in the given direction. I don't think you can have more than one... Well, here we go, okay. You can have more than one weapon. You've always got that beam thing there that you have to hold down the fire button to select that. You also always have that bloody circular saw blade thing. I can't remember. Surely someone can put in the comments there what that mode is actually called, because I can't remember. You can't fire when you're like that, but you are invincible. And also you can't jump when you're like that. So that's the other things you have to remember. Right, what can you do when you're in normal mode, when you're this robot walking around and jumping about and everything? And what can't you do? And then what can you do when you're this circular saw blade thing, and what can't you do, and everything else? There are all sorts of power-ups there, but they only affect your main weapon when you're just hammering away at the fire button. But as soon as you pick up another one, it replaces the one you had. So you've got to then remember which power-up is the best one to keep, and then you've got to avoid all the other ones coming in. It's a, really, it's
just
too
a bit.
much.
It's just a bit too I'm kind of I'm looking at the game here. I mean, it does look a very, very pretty game. There's no two ways about it. I'm kind of picking up the feeling that it's just there's just a bit too much. Would I be right in thinking if it just gave you one weapon and then you destroyed an enemy and you upgraded it to a laser, it was just that you only ever had one weapon at any one time, would you have probably enjoyed it a bit more?
I could have done. The other thing is, it's a genre that around that sort of time, it had already been milked to death, the platform come shooter. We had plenty of them. I mean, there are plenty of good ones. Prime example again of that for both of us is Rolling Thunder, which is a fantastic game. And that shows that a shooter and platform game can be great. And again, the reason that is so good is because it's so simple. It's just up, down, left, right and fire. And that's all there is on a jump. But, it's not asking too. You haven't got to remember all these other bloody things to go with it. So there are plenty of games where, we've got the shooter come platform game. This thing's come along. It's obviously tried to inject something else into it, but it's just done far too much. Well, certainly far too much for me. So, and I dare say if I was to play it more and more and more and get the practice in there, I might actually find myself enjoying it. But I've tried often enough and I just cannot get into it at all. And I've just given up with it. I've had enough. I've had plenty of people asking me, why haven't you reviewed it on your channel? Now you know.
So basically, yeah, it's a nice game, but it's just they've just overcomplicated the weapon system.
Yeah, they've made it way too complicated.
Yeah.
And it's a genre that I was getting a bit tired of anyway. And, so I guess this was probably about the only way they could inject something new into it. But the fact that it's ended up with a game that, well, for me anyway, is just too complicated for his own good, rather suggests that it was a genre they should have just, moved on, leave it, go on to something new. But they didn't.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm looking at the video here. In fact, I apologise now. The type of recording software I'm using, I opened up a YouTube video and I thought I'll place it just about where your head is so that when I'm watching the video it looks like I'm looking at the camera. Completely forgetting it's actually overlaid your head in the video, so apologies to the viewers. So I've kind of resized the window so it's not over your face there.
I wouldn't be apologising too much. A lot of people would be quite glad if it's got me hidden away behind it.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go talking about really any other games, but that is one thing that I find with games, especially more modern games, stuff like Fallout 4 and all these. You've got to craft weapons, and you've got to do this, and you've got to do that, and I can't be bothered with it, and I actually struggle to kind of figure out what I'm supposed to be doing, and there's always this nagging thing at the back of my head thinking, I'm playing the game, but I'm still using the bog standard weapon that I got given 5 hours ago, and I'm potentially missing out on a lot of game, but I can't, I'm either too impatient or too stupid to actually unlock things and upgrade weapons, and because even though I'm enjoying the game the way it is, I'm conscious that I'm missing out on stuff that I should be doing, and for that reason it puts me off playing games because they're just too damn complicated.
Yeah, especially nowadays. You don't get the decent simple stuff anymore. So when I'm going back, if I'm playing on MAME or something, I'll always play the old classics. I'll play Berserk, I'll play Galaxians, Space Invaders, Gorf, because they're simple as well as being enjoyable. That's what I want to be doing, You
know exactly what you're doing, you know exactly what you've got to do, and that's why you do it. That's pretty much why I play all these classic games rather than the more complicated ones. So anyway, that's your first one. Turrican on the C64.
Turrican,
To sum it up in one sentence, why don't you like it?
It's just far too complicated. It's not very newcomer friendly, and I just haven't got the patience for it.
Nothing wrong with that. Right, my first one, and I know this is going to be a contentious issue, is Impossible Mission by Epix. Yeah, I've said it. Now, I did actually mention that in a video I put out recently.
Yes,
Now,
I saw it.
Yeah, I always remember. Are you like that? Can you sometimes remember where you were when you played a game for the first time?
I certainly can when it comes to Impossible Mission, yes.
Yeah, well, I was at my mate's house. He had a Spectrum, and he went next door to his neighbour, who was a bit of an oddball, who actually went on to appear in Robot Wars for about 4 seasons. Right. He had one of the robots which used to get absolutely annihilated. Was it Napalm? I think it was. I better not name names, but yeah, he was the guy behind Napalm. But anyway, he had a Commodore 64, and my mate went next door to see him for something, and then my mate goes, "Oh, you'll never guess what I've got. What is it? Impossible Mission." Now, I'd heard of it. I think I might have read it. Was that reviewed in Zap? Or was that before?
I don't remember ever seeing a Zap
I think that
review.
predated Zap, didn't it?
I think it did. It came out in '84, so I think
that Zap came out in January '85. Did January come out in May '85? Something's nagging me. May '85, can't remember exactly.
It was '85, that's for sure.
Aye.
Yeah.
So so I got this game, and we rushed down to my house. We loaded it up, and of course you just got another visitor, stay a while, and you were like, wow, that's unbelievable. We'd just been playing his Spectrum with its little farts and scratchy noises, and here was this computer. Yeah. And it wasn't just talking in a kind of computerized voice, it actually had an accent.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. So that was me. I was like, this game's amazing. But then over the following days, weeks, whatever, probably not even weeks, because I probably gave up on it beforehand. Yep. The game is super impressive when it kicks off, looks beautiful. He's in this high-tech underground layer. It's got big lift, and then he starts to run, and the animation is just beautiful. You've got the as he runs along against the metallic floor of the sort of James Bond type baddies layer.
Yeah.
And then it obviously opens up into this, what can only be described as a very, very unfinished looking game. Now, am I right in thinking that the levels are randomly generated? In fact, no. I'm asking a question and I'm answering it. I believe somebody told me on my channel that the levels are all set, but they're randomly shuffled about. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's it. The actual layout of each room is set.
Aye.
But you don't know, they could appear anywhere within the actual
so
map.
how many levels are
there?
Maybe 30 or something like that.
I think it's something like either 32, 36, something like that.
Aye, because they're in like any matrix. Although some of the bits, when you come out, if you're in the elevator, you can go obviously left and right, but some of them you can't go left or right. It depends.
Yeah, some will have entrances on either side of them. They will obviously always stay there. The only things that changes are, what's inside any of the objects you're searching. That's always random. The behaviour of the robots is always changed.
Is that random as well?
Yeah. And the locations of the rooms about the playing area.
Yeah.
But the actual layout of the room itself, that's always the same.
That's the same. So yeah, like I said, you run along this fantastic looking tunnel, and then you get to this real crap looking screen with little platforms. Now I've got to say the robots are super impressive. I mean, they do look nice. They've got the little lasers coming out, and they make the little squawky noises as they turn around. Then you're like, wow, how did I kill them? How did I kill them? Oh, right, okay, so I've just got to jump over them, right, that's fine. What have I got to do? Oh, I've got to stand in front of a printer or a settee or a cupboard, and I've got to press up. And that's the point of the game. I've got it's like hide and seek. Go and look for the bits of the jigsaw. I don't know. And then you've got the little terminals which either like silent, they stop the robots, Do they
Yeah,
stop
you can
time?
pause the robots for it's a snooze password,
Yeah.
and yeah, it will stop the robots for I think it's 30 seconds.
Or was it 30 seconds?
Hmm.
But the point of the game is just to get to a printer and go searching. No, run, jump. I'm not particularly good at the game, and then you've got this big black ball thing, which is like the baddies, like the evil Otto of Impossible Mission. And then you get to. Am I right in thinking you've got to get to the? You've got a little. I was going to say a laptop. You've got a kind of PDA type of thing
Yeah.
that you bring up. Now, what do you use that for again?
Right, so you're picking up pieces of pass cards, punch cards, basically. You have to overlap them until they form a complete pass card. When it does that, you get a letter of the password. I can't remember if it's 8 or 9 letters, because the one time I did actually complete the game, the password was Albatross. So
And is that the same all the time, or does it change?
9 letters. I think it changes because there was a couple of times I found several letters and it certainly wasn't spelling that out. So the password changes all the time. You can't type it in or anything. You've got to find all the bits of the pass card and put them together to get the password actually to appear.
But yeah, so basically they've got this fantastic, amazing looking. Technically it's so accomplished. The speech, the animation, the jumping, the sound, and then the actual the meat and bones of the game just looks rubbish. It looks unfinished. It's basic. There's not a gun or laser in sight. I mean, I'm out. And then you get to the big room that's got like this sort of draft board type thing. It's like the Wizard of Oz. You get to the kind of Wizard of Oz, and you've got to try and is it like Simon Says or something? You've got to.
No, it will play the various notes, and then you have to put them in order of pitch from low to high.
And what do you get when you get that right?
You'll get either a lift initializer password or a snooze password.
Alright, so all that does is give you an extra thing to use in the extremely dull levels that you have to play in, yeah.
In the very difficult levels, yeah.
So am I right in thinking I've pretty much I've discussed I'm not missing anything. There's not secret. You're going to tell me that you can pick up a gun and if you persevere. Am I right in thinking that?
No, you don't get a gun anywhere in there. Yes. This is the game I consider to be the greatest game of all time. So yes, there is a slight difference of opinion with this one. The thing I remember at it most, the first time I saw it, it was on a demonstration computer in a department store, Keddies, that we had down here in Southend. And someone was playing on it. And so I could hear the speech, the animation on the main sprite, when he's running, and then the somersault when he's jumping, and the sound effects of the robot when the electrical pulses firing out of it. And I was just standing there watching that, thinking, I didn't know that the Commodore 64 could do this.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have been, was it 84? So I was 12 when I was watching this. In fact, it wasn't that I didn't know a Commodore 64 could do. I didn't know a computer could do this, because prior to this game, all of the speech I'd heard in any gaming was Gorf, was Berserk, was Wizards of War. So it had that very electronic sounding sort of voice. And then this thing came along, and it sounded like an actual person. I'd never heard anything like it on the Commodore 64 or on any computer. So how it sounded just blew me away. I ended up getting the game about a week later, and I just got completely hooked by it right from the start. And I've just loved playing it ever since. The really weird thing is, I am not a fan of platform games at all.
Really?
Then this thing came along, and so to this day, I still think it's the greatest game of all time, and it's a platform game. I think the thing is that all the platform games I'd played before then had all been like Manic Miner and Jet Set Willie, and all very surreal and all a bit weird and
Yeah.
stupid. And this came along, and like you say, it's like in a Bond film. You know, you're in some Bond style underground there with megalomaniac trying to take over the world. So it was more serious. And that appealed to me a lot more. So I think that's why this game stood out amongst all the other
Do you think
games.
possibly because I'm a wee bit older than you? I would be 17 at that point. Oh, no, wasn't really an adult as such, but do you think maybe because you were that wee bit younger, were you still running about pretending you're like James Bond and that, and you just thought this was your way of reenacting that? But the fact that you're an agent, and you don't even get a gun. All you've got, can you imagine watching a James Bond film where all he can do is somersault?
I mean, well, at the time, it didn't really. It honestly didn't occur to me. In fact, for years until I think it was when Mission 2 came out. Then you could lay mines and plant bombs and stuff. So you actually had other things you could do rather than
Never
just
played the
jump.
second one. Never touched it.
But the second one's nowhere near as good. It's not a terrible game. It's nowhere near as good. I'm saying this to somebody who's put it on this list. So yeah, the fact that you weren't armed at all or anything, that never entered my head. I never had a problem with it.
You know, there's not many games actually. It's only when you actually talk out loud about things, it doesn't really sound like a recipe for a good game where all you can do is somersault over things. And I think that's the crux of why I find it. I don't enjoy it. All you do is you somersault and you press forwards.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you describe it like that, then yeah, it's not going to appeal to anybody. I mean, if I'd heard it described like that before I actually saw the game running, then yeah, I would have just dismissed it. No, that sounds boring. So, maybe it's one of those games where you have to see it to be able to appreciate it. Except, of course, if you've never seen it before and you look at it now compared to the games that you get today, I mean, it's going to look like absolutely bugger all nothing.
Yeah.
It's not going to interest anybody. But if you're around at the time in 1984, this was just unlike any game I'd ever seen. It just looked amazing. Although I'm not a actor, I never really have been. The way this game really did sort of grab my attention, and it just didn't let go.
Here's the thing: you've played Bounty Bob Strikes Back, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I have. I can't remember.
Or Manic Miner.
Yeah.
Replace the graphics from Impossible Mission and put Manic Miner graphics in. Do you think it would still be as good a game, or do you think? And I tend to think it is. People talk about like, Avatar, an amazing film, but you take away the actual, the stunning visuals. Do you think the actual? Well, I think obviously the stunning visuals of Impossible Mission was a big draw. It was a bit that drew me in, and ultimately I felt kind of let down with the actual gameplay.
Yeah, that's certainly what I think drew everybody in initially, because, well, I don't know how many others saw it, but like I say, I'm looking at this game for the first time thinking that I didn't know a computer could even do this. So from a technical point of view, it's amazing. Mind you, I said that about Turrican.
True, yeah.
Yeah. And also, of course, the fact that you look at it compared to pretty much all the other games, even all the other good games that were around at the time in '84, it did just sound completely different. That speech was, I think, genuinely revolutionary. I think it just raised the bar for all other games to come after it.
Mm-hmm. Thing is, there was very few games actually did reach that level of the animation of the guy. Obviously, it was taken from the Epic Summer Games because it was the same company that made it.
Yeah.
The speech, I mean, there was very few games had speech, that had.
Yeah,
I think like what do you call them? You had not Raid Over Moscow. You had Beachhead 3.
Beachhead 2 had it. Of course,
Beachhead 2, sorry, Beachhead
used
2.
exactly the same speech software as Impossible Mission.
Berkeley Systems, I think it was called. I think that was the company.
Who was it? Sorry, I didn't catch.
Berkeley Systems.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Actually.
Yeah, I don't know why I know that. It's a thing when you're a bit of geek, but yeah. So
yeah, I would.
the reason it's in this, I'm including in this video is because I cannot fault the impact it had on computer owners back in the day. A staggering piece of technical coding, but I just felt that the actual gameplay was ultimately unfulfilling and boring, and that's why I'm not a fan of it.
You're not the only one I know who's not a fan of it. So it's clearly not one of those games that's going to appeal to absolutely everybody. I know a few who are not so keen on it. So you're not alone anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, that's number 1 off the list. Right, number 2, sir.
Right. Now, if we haven't got any thumbs down from the first 2 games we've chosen, we're certainly going to get it with this. The Last Ninja. Now, again, like the last 2, yes, visually absolutely fantastic, mind-blowing. It's the only Commodore 64 game I can think of that's 3D isometric, but it's not all monochromatic. They actually have, colours in it. Cool, what a revelation, this game has colours.
They had, I think they had, the graphics were, if I remember rightly, were done by a guy called Hugh Riley. Now, I remember him from the CompuNet days. He used to do, I think he did the loading screen for the Sentinels, like a big eye. He was an amazing artist.
Yeah.
And then I think he did the visuals, and as you say, the visuals on The Last Ninja are incredible.
Yeah. And it also, was it Ben Dalglish
did the music, which is an incredible soundtrack, yeah.
I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Ben Dalglish's music. A lot of the stuff he did I thought was so-so. But then to be fair, he said that about his own music himself.
Yeah.
So, but with this one, he really did pull out all the stops. It was an amazing soundtrack. So it has the visuals, it has the audio, and then the gameplay came along, and I just found the combat very fiddly. It got to the point where I was just using the same move over and over and over again, although I did seem to be able to actually progress quite well in the fights just by doing the same move. So although you had all these other various combat moves, you just needed to use the same one all the time, and you'd get through no problem. I was never one for making maps while I was playing games, and so of course I was constantly getting lost and constantly going back to the same place I'd already been to. So you're sitting there waiting for it to draw in the screen, which thankfully didn't take that long. Actually, that was another area where technically it was really impressive. The big problem with it though was when this came out, I was absolutely sick to death of ninjas appearing in video games. I mean, it was like you couldn't go a week without another game coming along about bloody ninjas. I was just so fed up with it that even though this is probably, I dare say there'll be plenty of people who say, yeah, this was the best ninja-based game ever. Well, apart from maybe Last Ninja 2, I think everyone seems to say that one was the better game.
Was that in New York? I think was it the second one in New York?
I think it was. Yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, everyone will say, "Oh, so you should have persevered," and because I didn't have this back in the day, I did play it and couldn't get into it. It's another one where people were asking me to review it, so I've been playing it a bit semi-recently, and I still just cannot get into it. And so I in the end, I just don't bother doing the review of it because I'm just sitting there saying, this isn't much cop really. You know, it looks good, but and you know, what a thrilling video that would make. You know, so yeah, it looks great and sounds great, but I just find it boring.
It sounds to me it's almost on the you've included it kind of for the same reasons that I included the Impossible Mission.
It's pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to really disagree with you because I mean I bought it on disc, and you know people just raved about how wonderful and amazing this game was, and I played it for maybe a couple of weeks, and I just kind of started to get bored. Like yourself, I just kind of felt that yeah, it looked incredible, but ultimately you were stuck on this little path. You know, you might have like left to right, or maybe if you're lucky, left to right, and maybe up and down, and you couldn't deviate, you couldn't walk off the path.
Yeah, so it's all very linear. Yeah,
it's kind of like a lot of games you get nowadays. They give this impression of sprawling wilderness. I'm saying wilderness because I'm looking at the video of the thing running just now. It's called The Wilderness. You think you can go anywhere, but you're actually really restricted as to where you go. So in this game here, it is essentially. Now you could say that about any game. It is essentially a left to right, hitting a baddie with a stick, but it's got this beautiful makeover, all this beautiful graphics that go around it. But the actual gameplay itself is pretty damn simple.
Yeah, and I mean, okay, I was saying earlier about I like the games that are simplistic. You know. Saying yet again, you know, your Berserks and your Space Invaders, whatever. It's not so much that the game is, the gameplay is simple. It's just that it gets really repetitive, despite the fact that it's been made to look like there's going to be a lot more in it than there actually is.
Yeah.
So it's almost like it gets your hopes up that it's going to be something absolutely fantastic, and then you realise quite quickly it's just the same old thing you've done time and time and time again. There's nothing really new in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, again, looking at the video here, you know, the visuals are incredible. I mean, they're beautiful, and I think that was probably a big draw of the game. If you stripped out all the beautiful looking visuals, then there's not an awful lot of gameplay. But the visuals themselves is probably a big draw for people. People want to see the next screen.
The first time I saw it, I got a demo. I think it was a Zap cover tape, and they had a demo of The Last Ninja, but it wasn't a playable one. You just sat there and watched the character moving around. And to be honest, I found just watching that no different at all to actually playing the game. You know, so. I had everything that was good about The Last Ninja because I could see how good it looked, and it had the music playing there, and I just sit there and watch it, and it was exactly the same experience as if I was playing the thing.
I would almost could we possibly describe it as Shadow of the Beast for the C64?
Yeah, actually, I think you probably could. Yeah, it was all about how it looked and how it sounded, but the gameplay was just not there. I mean, with Shadow of the Beast, the gameplay was a complete afterthought. But, I mean, at least with this, because there is some sort of attempt at making it look 3D, you could actually move, well, up and down, but it looked like you were moving in and out of the screen. So there was that. So it has that over Shadow of the Beast, at least.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting watching this. I'm watching the video just now, and there are a couple of things that used to annoy me about it as well. Was the fact that you I suppose that makes it a challenge. It wasn't always obvious as to what you were actually trying to do. When you walk onto a screen, you get a wee 1 pixel glowing, and that's what you've got to pick up. Then there's that horrendous bit where you've got to jump over the river, and if you're 1 pixel out, you just sink right away.
So yeah, it was incredibly frustrating when you got there. You finally got to a bit where, okay, there's actually some challenge, and then they took the difficulty from the sublime to the ridiculous, and like you say, 1 pixel out, and that's it. game over. You know.
I mean, you're Bruce Lee. You can see it on my t-shirt. You're Bruce
Oh
Lee.
yes.
You're Bruce Lee, and you fall in a river and you instantly drown.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it just seems a bit ridiculous when that happens.
Considering you're jumping on rocks, which presumably are only maybe a couple of feet high, you'd imagine you could just paddle through the water and go to the other
So
side.
just wade through the water, even if it's waist deep. That's still not going to be a problem.
So really, to summarise, Chris, why is The Last Ninja a popular game which you think's pish?
Right, well, because once you look beyond, the impressive visuals and have heard the soundtrack, there's just nothing else there that keeps me remotely interested. Simple as that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I agreed with pretty much everything you said. So yeah, there we go. Excellent. Right, and if we've not upset C64 owners, we're going to upset every Amiga owner as well. My number 2 on games which are apparently good but are actually pish is Secret of Monkey Island. Now, I'm not I'm not just saying the Secret of Monkey Island, and I'm using that as the sort of the flagship game. I'm basically talking about all these point and clicks. Was it not Shadow of the Beast? What was it called? There was
Operation Stealth or something.
there was lots of them. I can't remember. I'm not even going to try and. There was lots of them that had that point and click. I think Monkey Island was the first one that people generally talk about. It's one of these games. It's one of these games.
Leisure Suit Larry sort of things as well.
Leisure Suit Larry was a wee bit different. I think Secret of Monkey Island had moved on. I remember playing Leisure Suit Larry on my very, very first. Well, in fact, I got it on the Amiga, and it was like, oh, there's nudity. You thought this was amazing, but I think
I think we all bought Leisure Suit Larry for that reason, yeah.
Because it was adult rated.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
But if I remember, Secret of Monkey Island, it was obviously, it was kind of similar, I think it was probably had moved on a wee bit. The reason it's on my list is I so much wanted to, to kick things off, it came on, was it 7 discs or something ridiculous?
Yeah, something ridiculous like that, yeah.
Now, I don't remember if it was like Street Fighter 2 in the Amiga where you put disc 1 and then it would ask for disc 3, and you take it, then it'd want disc 4, then it'd want disc 1, and whereas I don't know, did Secret Monkey Island, did it run disc 1, 2, 3, 4? I think
to be honest, I never played it very often. I did have it, but I had a cracked version which only came on 5 discs. So yeah, I seem to remember it was constantly insert disc 4 and then go back disc 2 and stuff like that. I thought though that was down to me having the cracked version, but it sounds like
I think I had the cracked version as well, to be fair, but yeah, that wasn't the reason I didn't like the game. I don't know. I think when I moved across from Commodore 64 to the 16-bit, I went to the Atari ST, then I moved on to Amiga. I wanted my visuals to look wow. I wanted them to blow my mind. I wanted the music to be incredible. And then this game came along, and it was like a Commodore 64 game. It looked. I know you're watching this going, he's talking shite, it looks nothing like a Commodore 64 game, but it felt like that. It felt like I'd gone back 5 years playing this game. The sound was plinky plonky, everything was just very, very basic.
Yeah.
And I just got very frustrated with the whole. I've never been an adventure fan. I've never ever got into adventure games. I don't know, maybe I've not got the patience to actually get into the games. I know a big part of these games was the humour. I think they had was it LeChuck's Revered or something?
Yeah, that's it. I didn't mind the humour in the game, but you can probably tell from my rather lukewarm response, I wasn't a big fan of it either. It had its moments, but yeah, I totally agree with, if you weren't a fan of adventure games, you were never really going to be a fan of this. I didn't mind some adventure games. I used to play quite a few on the 64. When I first got my Amiga, I think like just about everybody, I got the Pawn, the Rainbird
Oh,
adventure
aye,
game,
yeah.
and again that was because it was a graphic showcase. Um, so yeah, I didn't mind the adventure games, and nowadays I do quite like playing the role-playing games on the PC, and this was sort of like the point where it had gone from text adventure games and it was just starting to move into role-playing games. So it's sort of like straddling between the two genres, and I don't think it worked. It didn't do it very well.
Yeah, yeah. As you say, I think the next incarnation of that would be where you physically control the character with, a joystick, whatever it was. But
Mm.
I don't know. I think the big overriding thing for me was the graphics just looked shit.
Yeah,
Again, people, I could maybe watch it and bring it up on YouTube just now and go, you know what, they don't actually look that shit. But for me, back in whenever it was, I don't know, 1988 or something, whenever it came out, it just felt like the graphics weren't great. The music was a bit rubbish. But the
the
actual
music was terrible.
yeah, and again, just the whole interface with the mouse. I think if you remember right, maybe you'd have to just click, 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 and then eventually click on something, and it would come up with a
And then
menu, and you
that's it, and then you had to type in the response or
oh,
whatever
pick up,
to it all.
sword, do.
Yeah.
It just felt. I wanted. Maybe I'm from an arcade background. I want my stuff more. Just boom, there you go. I want to get in, out, sit in about you and kill somebody. Have to
Yeah,
click with a mouse.
the whole interface was pretty clunky because at one moment yes you're clicking on the screen to move the character about, and then the next thing you know you suddenly got to type in a command, and then of course you get the whole what's its vocabulary like. Oh, it's very basic, so everything you type in is I don't understand that, and so it started getting really
The
frustrating.
parser is the word we're looking for. Parser.
Oh yes, well, whatever it wasn't very good.
But yeah, like I said, it's not a dig at Secret of Monkey Island. Curse of Enchantia, that was the one I remember getting that. You start off in a cell and you've got to cut the guy. I think you've got to cut yourself loose or something. But I just found all these games. Yeah, I don't know. I just couldn't get on with them. And then of course we then evolved from that to like Dungeon Master. Wait, Dungeon Master, Dungeon Keeper, Dungeon Keeper.
I'll say Dungeon Master I thought was fantastic, but I mean that was pure mouse controlled.
Yeah.
And it worked really well. I still am every bit as much a Dungeon Master fan now as I was back in, I think it must have been 87 that came out.
I think so.
Think.
I remember seeing the Atari. See, I suppose it's unfair to talk about that. It's a completely different game. That Dungeon Master was it was almost kind of Doom, but it was like you felt like it was like real time. Albeit it was like, I don't know, dump it kind of steps, but yeah. So I think to kind of move this on, the reason I'm not a fan of point and click type games like Secret of Monkey Island, I just felt that the graphics, we were going backwards with them. And I understand that because probably the whole complex nature of the game and the fact that it had all the commands and that was the reason. And I don't know how many locations it had. It was, I don't know, probably hundreds or something. I don't know.
I never saw more than about half a dozen probably.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get into it.
So it looked shite. The sound was rubbish, and the gameplay lacked, and that's why I've included it in this one.
Yeah. Oh, it's deserving its place, I think.
Listen,
We
Chris.
actually agreed on one now. There you go. That's the first for here.
Right, okay, that's my second one. Right, Mr. Lukozer, number 3. Now, I know you've upset enough people, so it's got to be a better one.
Right, well this is another one that is again not going to please too many people. So we move on to Head Over Heels for Commodore 64.
Oh.
Now, there might be a particular set of circumstances for this one, because I got this, I think it was Christmas Must have been 86. Was it 86 this came out?
I'm not exactly sure. Probably.
It was,
Something like
it
that,
was
yeah.
either 86 or 87. I got this. So yeah, I got this at Christmas. I got it at the same time I got Whizball, Arkanoid, and Renegade. So I got all four of those all at the same time. Now, Whizball I thought was fantastic, and I still do.
Yeah.
Arkanoid is fucking difficult. Well, I'll let that one slip. It's difficult, but it's a good conversion, and I quite like playing it. Renegade I can give or take at best.
Yeah.
So this then came along, and again, it just never grabbed me right from the start. It doesn't help that it's another 3D isometric game, which I'm not a big fan of, although it does have one thing going in its favour. I remember a lot of the 3D isometric games at this time would always have like a health meter, which absolutely plummeted, and you spent the whole game just trying to, constantly keep your health rate up all the time. So at least this did away with that. So it had that going for it.
Well, how did it work? I'm watching the video just now. Was it how did you die then?
It's just losing a life if you hit, something, you hit an enemy or hit part of the background or the scenery or something, or obstacles. Trouble is, some things didn't kill you and some things did. And it wasn't always easy to tell which was which, unless, through trial and error. The 64 version played extremely slow. It was very sluggish, especially in the larger rooms. Again, that's not just this. All the 3D isometric games had that problem, apart from The Last Ninja. So that's more an issue with the Commodore 64 version than anything else. I mean, there were some isometric games like The Great Escape. Now, I did like that, but was that
was that on the Commodore 64?
Yeah, there was Commodore 64 version of that.
I didn't know that got a release. That wasn't aware of that.
I think it was only released on a compilation. I don't remember ever seeing it released on as a standalone for the 64. That game I did like, even though it ran unbelievably sluggish at times. Anyway, so with this, it is a bit of a cutesy one, and anyone who's seen my channel knows I am not a fan of the whole cutesy fucking. Oh, here we go again with the whole cutesy.
We're past the watershed. We're all right.
Oh, okay, all right. So yeah, I'm not a fan of the cutesy look. You'll find out more about that later on. So it was the whole atmosphere the game generated, because visually, very cutesy. Graphically, it was very cutesy, and did I say visually and graphically? I meant to say audio-wise, it was very cutesy as well. The sound when he's walking along, and the jumping sound, and the silly jingles when you lose a life and everything else. It's just not my thing.
Did John Rittman program the C64 one? Do you know?
I don't know if he did the 64 one or not. Actually, thinking about it, yes, I think he did, because when they did Match Day and Match Day 2, basically ported a lot of the intro screen and everything else straight from this and used it in both of those games. And it had the names, it's, what's his name again?
John Rittman.
And what's his name, Hare. It was those two.
Really? What, John here?
Yes, who we were talking about before we started recording
well,
this.
he was involved in this game, really?
Yeah, I'm sure he was.
Was he? Oh, I didn't know that. I wasn't aware of that. I mean, again, I'm looking at the game running here now. I was going to, when you were talking about how sluggish it was, I was going to say, well, it looks alright to me, but the screen I'm watching right now, there's two things moving, and he's just moving, but
yeah.
But when there's nothing moving, he zips along at a fair old pace. From a C64 owner's perspective, no pun intended, it's it's monochrome again.
Yeah, that's. I mean, at that time, I pretty much expected it. If it was an isometric game, I knew it was going to be monochrome. I only know two games that weren't. Obviously, Last Ninja was already done, and Spin Dizzy, that wasn't. And that I thought looked great,
I'm
despite looking
assuming.
fairly simple.
Yeah, there was one other game, Chimera. It had speech.
Oh yes,
Chimera, and
yeah.
I bought that because I thought this was the C64's Night Lore isometric, and to be fair, it plays all right, but it's pretty basic. I might be talking absolute codswallop, but am I right in thinking that the reason that like this game runs particularly slow and like Fairlight was a game that I so much wanted it to be good on the C64, and it was
Really.
so slow to the point that I think it was unplayable, or it certainly put me off wanting to play it. Is it because these games had kind of like gravity and physics built in?
No, I don't think it was anything to do with that.
No.
I think it was because this is all guesswork. There are people out there who'll know far more about this than me. But because of the isometric perspective and that, a lot of the backgrounds and that they weren't able to use the 64's like hardware sprites, so it was all having to be done. It was all very processor centric, and of course the 64's processor is pretty slow. I mean, it's not even 1 megahertz or one. No, yeah, it's not even 1 megahertz. I think it's 950 kilohertz. So it's a very slow processor, and it's having to do a hell of a lot. And so of course the game is slowing down pretty badly. It's the same with any games using vector graphics. It always slows down a lot with that. So I think it's the same reason. I think it's because the 3D isometric thing is a lot more processor hungry than any of the other types. It's not just like a regular shoot 'em up or anything like that, where it can just all be passed on to the hardware sprites and that, and it zips through them.
Yeah. So, would you have? I mean, for example, if you had a Spectrum, would you have liked this game on the Spectrum, or it was actually the whole?
It was the whole thing. I mean,
Yeah.
the fact that it played really slowly was just like another nail in its coffin for me.
I never stood a chance.
Yeah, it never really did. It was one of those games where I asked for it for Christmas, and amazingly I got it. I wasn't expecting to get it because everybody was buying it and everyone was saying, oh, it's really great and all this. And of course I listened to them, I read the reviews, they all said it was great, and I didn't think it was at all. I just found it so boring, and it is extremely difficult. That's the other thing with a lot of these cutesy games, because they're also like nicey and all this other nauseating guff. You it sort of lures you in thinking that it's going to be easy, and they almost never are. This certainly isn't. This is one of the most difficult games I've played, trying to actually progress anywhere. And you get a clue that it's going to be difficult from the fact that you get, is it 8 or 9 lives for each character. And that straight away tells you, right, this is going to be tough. You're going to be losing lives left, right and centre. And you do. So it ends up getting frustrating as well as boring and nauseating, and it just hasn't got anything going for it as far as I'm concerned.
You touched on a point earlier on, and it's one of my pet hates with kind of games like that, is especially these sort of pseudo 3D type games. You've got to be just lined up. You didn't always know what killed you, and that's going to come through repeated play. You'll get to know, but you want to be able to see, well, that's going to kill me, that's not going to kill me. That game mechanic can sometimes make for quite a frustrating experience.
That's it, because the only way you can find out is through trial and error. But if you say you get to a place where you need to, try to do this trial and error and you're down to your last life, well, that's it, you get one shot at it.
Yeah, so, I mean, we obviously know that the C64 is capable of doing these games. Have you tried Night Lore, the recent port of Night Lore?
No, I haven't tried that one.
Yeah, it's worth trying just for the sake of, wow, the C64 can do isometric 3D games.
Well, I mean, say games like Spin Dizzy and well, as much as I hate to say the Last Ninja, they show that the 64 could do 3D isometric. So
Yeah.
why there was this whole slew of isometric games that just ran, unbelievably slowly, I've no idea. I mean, it's not as if Ocean couldn't get, decent programmers. So I don't think that was the
I
reason.
wonder if it's because, I mean, obviously, back then they played to they generally played to, you might get an arcade game and each version could be different because you would generally try and play to the sort of the system's strengths.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, this game looks like a Spectrum game. It's kind of high-res graphics. If they had gone for the sort of like the sprite-based blocky C64 look, I dare say it would probably ran a lot quicker, but it might have looked rubbish. I don't know.
So yeah, I think that's definitely part of it. It would have run better, but yeah, you would have lost a lot of detail in the graphics because even though they're monochromatic, and I don't like seeing monochromatic graphics on a 64, you can't deny that there's a lot of detail in them. They do look good for what they are. So yeah, I think it was. Maybe they had the choice and they just decided, right, we'll go the lesser of two evils and keep the detail but make it monochromatic and we're not using the hardware sprites for it.
Maybe they saw the Saboteur 2 and they thought, look at that Kraken, that's a Kraken port in the C64. Right?
Oh yeah, that must have been it. Saboteur 2 led the way, didn't it?
Yeah, so to summarise in one sentence, Chris, why is Head Over Heels actually a pish game?
Because it has no redeeming features at all as far as I'm concerned. I just think it's awful.
You're really going for the thumbs down brigade tonight, aren't you?
That'll get us plenty of them, don't worry.
Right, moving on. Is it number 3 for myself? You've already mentioned one of this. A game which it's looked upon fondly with a lot of C64 people. It proved that the C64 could indeed do vector graphics, and that is Mercenary by Paul Wokes, I think it was, programmed the game.
Yeah.
Now, if I remember rightly, the very, very first Paul Wokes game I saw was Encounter.
Yeah, that was the earliest one I know of.
Which, even now, is a damned impressive game.
Yeah,
It's very, very simple, but the speed of the game, the sound effects, it's one of these games that even after a couple of minutes of playing it, you get hairs in the back of your neck sticking up because you've got this and you've got this thing it's like the Terminator, it's coming for you, and you've got to back off and try and shoot it. That was an amazing game. So,
fantastic.
When I picked up Zap, when it fell through my letterbox, and I think Mercenary, did it get a gold medal? I think it did.
I think you did, yeah.
I think it did. I thought, and I rushed up to the computer shop, bought it, and I was like, really? The graphics, yeah, they're vector graphics. I mean, it sets the scene quite nicely. You're plummeting to, I think I can't remember what goes, your ship malfunctions.
Yeah, and I think you're crash landing on
on Targ, planet Targ, I think it is. And it's all very impressive. It's like a kind of cutscene, which was pretty much unheard of back in the 8-bit machines. You're falling to Earth and your computer's talking to you, and it's trying to do the reverse thrust, and you get what at the time looked quite impressive. You see the sort of like the landscape coming towards you.
Yeah,
but it's quite jerky.
Right.
If you play it on the Atari or the Spectrum, it's a lot smoother. And so you crash land, and then obviously you come out and you're walking about, and there was nothing there. It was just like a kind of plain green screen, and then occasionally you'd get something on the horizon, and you would keep walking towards it. It would gradually get bigger, but the movement was a bit jerky. It was very, very slow. The fact that you could sort of see through it as well, just a bit rubbish. And I know again, I suppose it was quite. I mean, the funny thing was, I loved Elite. I played Elite. I played Elite a lot. Try saying that when you're drunk. I did play a lot of Elite. I played Elite a lot, and I loved that game. And even though the graphics, probably weren't, I think probably Mercenary was more impressive. I think one of the things that I didn't like about Mercenary was the choice of colours. Elite was in space, obviously, so it was black with white vectors. Mercenary, if I remember rightly, was it kind of bluey, greeny? It was with white.
Yeah, you had the green on the actual planet surface. You had the blue for the sky, so it's very sort of basic colours.
Yeah, green and blue with the white.
Everything else, just the white vector graphics.
Yeah.
And green, blue, and white.
Aye, and I think for me, maybe again, it's not a dig specifically at Mercenary. I think I believe it was quite an in-depth game. There was a lot of missions you could choose to fight for different sides or whatever. It was quite a sprawling game. You had to kind of go from A to B and do various things, and maybe that's because I'm not a big fan of these type of games. But just, I don't know. I just thought the graphics quite frankly, looked rubbish. And the fact that C64 is not specifically geared for doing vector graphics. Though technically they're not classed as vector graphics, but that's what line graphics, that's what we would call them, vector graphics. I just didn't think it was up to speed. People do say, well, if you didn't think the C64 could do graphics, vectors, have a look at Mercenary. Maybe it was better than... I had a game, it was an early Battlezone game called Stealth, which came out. It was a US Gold game, I think it was, and it had vector graphics and they were rubbish. And then Mercenary maybe did look it didn't look any better. It maybe performed a wee bit better, but to my mind, it looked rubbish. You could see through everything. You really had to have a vivid imagination when you're playing the game to think that you were actually in some sort of long lost planet.
Yeah. For the most part, I agree with you. I could never really get into Mercenary at all. It wasn't that I thought it was a terrible game. And when you compare it to Elite, it was rendering the vector graphics a lot faster, and the movement was a lot faster, and there was nowhere near as much flickering as there was in Elite. Because you remember with Elite, the graphics flickered a hell of a lot.
Yeah, I never remembered that until I actually revisited it, and I realised, God, it did flicker a lot. It didn't bother me. I didn't think about it at the time. Yeah.
Well, okay, so they didn't flicker as much, and they moved faster than they did in Elite. But the thing with Elite is, they were actually done far more in a far more complex way, because say you had a ship and you was looking at it head on, and then it turned round. It would hide the vectors from the top, and all you could see was the bottom. Now, Mercenary didn't do that, so it was like everything was made of glass, and you could see right through it all. And it even incorporated that into the game. Do you remember when you were looking for, I think it was the 93951 fuel sample or something?
I never got beyond the first 10 minutes, mate.
You'd find it, and then you walk through it, turn round, and of course it spells out Pepsi. So it's even incorporating that into features in the game. The fact that everything is transparent. If you're looking through it the wrong way, you're seeing words written backwards, and that spoils it. So I don't think it looked very good. I know plenty of people use Mercenary as an example of the 64 doing vector graphics really well. I don't agree. I think if you want to see an example of the 64 doing vector graphics, then you want to look at Stunt Car Racer. That was doing them well and fast. And it makes Mercenary look pretty much nothing.
I've got a video. I'm watching the video just now, which I'll have on screen for this, for our viewers to watch. And when you're moving at speed, everything's moving at maybe it only jumps 4 steps and then it's off the screen. It's not smooth.
The weird thing about it is, did you ever play Damocles?
That was the Atari ST 16-bit kind of version. Yeah. I didn't play it, no.
Now, I bought it for the Amiga, and I actually liked it, and I still like it. I think Damocles is good, but I'm not a fan of Mercenary. Don't ask me to explain that one, I can't, because the two games play pretty much identically. But for some reason, I enjoy playing Damocles, and I still play it occasionally now. But Mercenary never grabbed me. I can't explain why, but that's
Obviously,
how it is.
the graphics in Damocles are filled in, aren't they? They're
Oh yeah,
polygons. Yeah. I mean, just exactly what you're saying there. There's a bit there where you're flying the cheese or something. Is that was the ship you had to get, and you can see through the cheese, and you can see the actual room graphics and the door graphics. And when you get at a certain angle, it all just looks very messy.
It's all just a jumbled mess. You can't tell what's what anywhere. So yeah, it doesn't work too good, to put it mildly.
Yeah, and I never because I lost interest in Mercenary very, very quickly. I never bothered getting was it Return to Targ, and then
I didn't bother with that. Damocles was the only one I really bothered with, because then there was a Mercenaries 3 that came along afterwards. I didn't bother with that one either. So it seems as though, the first sequel was one that I did like, but everything else associated with the Mercenary series, particularly the first one, I just couldn't get into it.
Yeah, I'm just again looking at the video here. Quite literally, I mean, the actual play area is maybe 2/3 of the screen. You've got your sort of your energy bar and your altitude and your location, your speed.
All that, yeah.
But then it's like blue, green. The bit of play area is just cut in the middle. You've got the blue for the sky and the green. Again, I suppose that, to put your 1986 graphics glasses on, it was technically quite an impressive game for the time. But to achieve what it was achieving and actually doing, it required a lot of, the fact that you could see through the graphics and all that kind of stuff. That probably helped to keep the speed up. There were too many corners to be cut to get this. I would have preferred a far slower, better looking game than something that's quite fast that looks a bit rubbish.
See, it's easy for me to say yes, I would have preferred that as well, but then I think about it, as much as I liked playing the Commodore 64 version of Elite, I freely admit it was the worst version of the lot. Whereas, how slow... how much slower would Mercenary need to go before it started becoming unplayable? I mean, are we talking like driller sort of speeds here? I wouldn't even want to imagine trying to play Mercenary if it's running as fast as driller.
So to sum up why I don't like Mercenary, it looks primitive, it doesn't play particularly well, it's juddery graphics, the graphics are see-through. I think it was more about the complexity of the game, that you could do different things was what made it appealing. But as far as the actual how it ran, I wasn't a fan at all. I'll stick to Encounter, thanks very much.
Yeah, I'd definitely go along with that.
Yeah.
Encounter was fantastic. It was everything Mercenary wasn't.
So if I've not upset enough people, I'm sure you're going to help to keep pushing that with choice number 4.
Right, now I've just made a split-second change. I had one in mind for all this time, but I'm now going to put that into the also-rans. So my next one is Zoids. Now, okay, as soon as you mention Commodore 64 Zoids, the first thing everyone thinks of is the Rob Hubbard music. And let's get this out of the way now. The Rob Hubbard music is absolutely fantastic. I would say it's probably the best piece of music he did for Commodore 64.
Oh, controversial.
I think it's that good.
Controversial, sir. I stand by Monty in the run, but anyway, that's for another...
Oh, okay. I definitely prefer the Zoids music. It's Whether you think it's his best piece or not, only an idiot would say it's not. It's no good. Of course, it's good. It's superb. Unfortunately, that is the only good thing about the game. Now, I remember this got reviewed in Zap, and it got the Sizzler rating, and I'm trying to remember how much, I think it got about 91, 92%, so they were raving about it. Now, the only reason I'm a bit unsure about putting this in this list is I don't actually know how popular the game was, because I am the only person I know who bought it. I know a few people who played it, and they all agree with me. The game itself is abysmal. So it was published by Martech, and it was actually programmed by the Electronic Pencil Company. And the only other game I know that they did was the Amiga version of Microprose Soccer, and the less said about that, the better. It's as bad as the 64 version was good. So they came up with this game, and they seem to overlook one rather important fact, which is that Zoids, the toys, were aimed at kids. So if you wanted a Zoids game, it needed to be something that would appeal to kids as well as people who are like teenagers or whatever, who would be more interested in the, you could say, model making side of it. I mean, they were very basic as far as putting them together and that. I mean, I quite enjoyed putting them together myself. I had a few of them back in the day. So the game it's just a series of icons. The actual, well, you never actually take direct control of the Zoid that you're playing. I'm assuming you've got a video of it running now.
I have, and yeah, you've got 4 icons at one side, and then 4 icons at the other side, and then in the middle you've got this postage-sized stamp, sort of like aerial shot of where you are, and you're like a kind of map, and you've got the little heartbeat sort of.
Yes, so the whole thing is the top, which that is your health rating. At the bottom, it's the signal that's being given off. Eventually, you'll find like these radio transmitters, and you can jam the signals and everything else. And eventually, you will then encounter enemy Zoids, and you can tell they're enemy Zoids because they're blue blocks on that postage stamp, just like you are. So, the actual amount of graphical content in the game that gives you even the remotest clue that this is based on Zoids is minute. It's only when you're actually opening fire on an enemy, whether you're using missiles or whether you're using the railgun, a window appears which just shows a static image of the Zoid you're attacking. That's it. That is the only time you actually see a Zoid actually represented on screen. The game is monumentally complicated, and I don't just mean complicated for the time. I mean, even today, it's stupidly complicated. The Windows system just doesn't work for me. It's too clunky an interface. It would be okay if you had a mouse, I suppose, but you're using joystick. It didn't have the option to use a mouse, so even if you were one of the few people who had a mouse for your Commodore 64, you couldn't use it with this anyway. The instructions that came with it were on this tiny little sort of like fold-out sheet of paper. They didn't go into anywhere near the amount of depth that you needed to be able to understand what you were doing. And it just sort of dropped you in at the deep end in this, well, this screen appears, this tiny little actual playing area. I mean, you look at the size of the screen you've got there, and it's all just this little strip in the middle, and that's all you are controlling. So the only thing you control is the crosshairs that you're moving about the screen. You never have direct control of the Zoid itself. Oh, it's just abysmal.
I'm actually sitting watching your. I was going to say, I think you really need to do a gameplay of it just because you hate it so much, but I'm sitting watching. I've just watched somebody else's, and ironically, the one I watched that had 4 likes and 6 dislikes. Your one's got 10 dislikes. But yeah, the screen is.
Was it when you was 10? That's all.
The screen is quite literally like that aspect ratio.
Yeah,
It's all completely. You're actually only playing. The whole screen is in the middle third of the screen. The top third is completely black, other than this green health thing. Then the bottom half is got the little red health thing. As you see, you're controlling a crosshair. Yeah, I mean, it looks nice enough, but I do remember. I mean, it's just come up with a thing that looks like the Trivial Pursuit thing. It's got like 6 sections. I have got no idea. I'm kind of guessing. I remember trying to play this at the time, and I didn't have the faintest idea what I was trying to do, and I just gave up. But I wanted to play it because Zap said it was an amazing game. I'm getting the feeling here that possibly the idea behind the game was a good one, but the hardware was just not.
It wasn't good enough to be able to realise the idea they had.
Yeah, it should have possibly, if they'd made it on the Amiga or something like that, you could have got a first person viewpoint or something. I don't know.
I certainly think, the capabilities of the Amiga would have lent itself to this type of game. I mean, even if it hadn't even been a port of Zoids, but something that used this sort of control method, it could have worked a lot better. The game itself really suffered from the fact that the instructions didn't tell you a bloody thing. And so you're saying that you had played it back in the day and you didn't have a clue what you were doing. Well, that's what I was like. I had the instructions in front of me. I still didn't have a clue what I was doing. The thing to remember is that this is a game that is based on kids' toys. So it should have been aimed towards children. Well, no kid's going to look at this and think, this is just what I wanted from a Zoids game. It's ludicrous.
So they forgot their target audience. They've taken a kids thing, but they've made it so complicated that kids can't play it, and so they've pitched it to an adult audience. But I mean, I was an adult when it came out, and I didn't have a bloody clue what I was doing.
Yeah, that's it. So they, like you say, they forgot the target audience. The people who could understand it, firstly, weren't going to be that interested because they weren't interested in Zoids to begin with. And then when they did try it, they were thinking, well, I haven't got a bloody clue what I'm doing with this thing. So most of the time, certainly with me, and I expect with a lot of people who had this game, the only reason they ever loaded it up was to listen to the Rob Hubbard music.
Yeah.
So nowadays, if you want to enjoy this game at its best, just download the SID file.
I'm going to sum up for you here, using your actual words. A needlessly complicated game written by people who seem to forget that Zoids was collected and played with by children.
There you go. I think that sums it up pretty well.
I think we'll leave it at that. Leave it at that, Chris. Right. This is going to be a very quick one because pretty much everything you've said about this game is going to apply, and you've almost stolen my thunder somewhat with this one. And the game that I'm got, I think it was the first game released by this company it was formed by people who worked for Imagine, the original Imagine software, and it's Shadowfire.
Oh yes, by Beyond.
By that's right, yep. And it was, I can't remember
published by Beyond, and it was programmed by Denton Designs.
That's the one, Denton Designs. Yep. There was a couple of guys from John something or another, the guy with the big beard. He was one of the Imagine programmers. They brought out this game, and again, I remember reading the review in Zap, and it got an awesome review, and I rushed out and I bought it, and I loaded it up, and I can't remember who did the music for Shadowfire.
It's Fred Gray.
It was awesome. Really, I'm not going to start humming it now, but it's quite really
best pieces.
It grabs you and it doesn't let go. It's a really, really. I mean, visually the game it ticks all the boxes, but pretty much what you were saying about Zoids, maybe not quite so much. I didn't have a bloody clue what I was doing. I wasn't able to play the game, and again, it's possibly down to me just being a lazy bugger. I didn't really want to learn how to play it, but I just couldn't get into it. And did you play it much yourself?
I never had it, I never bought it, but I borrowed it off someone, and I totally agree with you. Looked okay, sounds fantastic. I didn't have the faintest idea what I was doing. All icon driven. It's back to what we were talking about with Barbarian in the last video. They chose a dreadful control method and then made it totally counterintuitive.
Aye, I mean, again, I don't even, graphically, it is really, really pretty looking. I mean, the graphics do look nice, and you've got the music going along beside it, but there doesn't appear to be an actual play area as such. There's no real feeling of being there because it was all just static images. And again, I'm kind of thinking it's possibly similar to Zoids. It was a good idea, but possibly the technology wasn't there to really realise the game.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, to be honest, the game never really grabbed my attention right from the get-go. I think when I borrowed it off of a mate of mine, he kept saying, oh, it's really great, and I was saying, well, it doesn't really interest me. He said, oh, no, trust me, it is really good. So I gave it a try, and it turned out that my initial impression stuck. It just never caught my attention. The music was the only thing that I liked about it.
It does. I mean, again, I'm watching a video here, and I can guarantee this one will probably get plenty of thumbs down. This particular video has got 102 likes and 1 down thumb.
Oh, he must say it's fantastic,
but,
then. He can tell us how to play the fucking thing.
But the graphics, I mean, I'm sitting watching it just now, and it does look like a really good game. Maybe I should, maybe I can be encouraged to actually have a go of it and actually maybe learn the game and actually give it another go, because I'm quite sure possibly some of the other games, definitely not Impossible Mission, I stand by my views on that one. Maybe if I actually made a point of trying to play it, I might come round, but I just remember thinking, Shadow, I was waiting, I was clicking on all these icons, and I was just waiting for it to open full screen into something we could run about and shoot somebody, but I think it was I don't know what came first. Was it Zoids and then this, or did this come out at the same time?
I think Shadowfire came out first. Didn't that come out about, is it 85, 86?
Might have been right. And I've got to say, the graphics are far more impressive in Shadowfire than they were in Zoids.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm pretty sure it was 85 actually. It's one of those games where it came out a lot earlier than I always expect it to. Whereas Zoids came out in 87. I mean, by then, games were looking fantastic. There was no excuse for that game to look the way it did.
But this Shadowfire does look a lot. There's no question the graphics are beautiful. There's a lot of hard work has gone into the shading and all that kind of stuff. But it's just like somebody forgot to add the gameplay. It's like playing. Yeah. It would be like playing Berserk using a rolling the dice. It's like you're just missing the point of it, you know. It's kind of, maybe that's where we're kind of going with these ones. It was almost like they were like board games on a computer. You're like,
well, I mean, sometimes because that makes me start thinking of like role-playing games on the computer. I mean, they seem to work quite well. So it makes you wonder, well, what the hell went wrong with this then? If they could do something as complicated as a role-playing game on a computer, fine. Even in the 64 days, there were plenty of good role-playing games on the 64. So if they could do something as complex as that, where did they go wrong with this thing?
Mm-hmm. And there's really no, I know we're kind of going back to Zoids again, but when you see how visually impressive Shadowfire is, you know, it uses the whole screen, you know. So why the hell did Zoids only use a tiny wee screen? And you know, so yeah, I'm absolutely not knocking it. If it came to visuals, for Shadowfire, I'd give it probably 8 out of 10. probably get 8 out of 10 for sound. Gameplay would get 1.
Yeah.
But maybe I need to give it a proper go and try and play it. So I'll take that one away, and I'll make a video and see if I can maybe say, well, I made a mistake with that list.
Well, good luck with that. I don't think I'll be attempting it, that's for sure.
So anyway, yeah, the reason that is on my list is it's all visuals, it's all sound, but somebody forgot to put the gameplay in. Right, is it number 5 now? Is it? I think
We're on to our last one.
Yeah. No, we're only at an hour and 31 minutes. Believe me.
Oh well, compared to the last one, we're breezing through this. Right. So, number 1, the one that I really cannot stand. Now, anyone watching this who is familiar with my channel, this will come as no surprise whatsoever. It is Rainbow Islands for the Amiga.
That's on my list.
Eh?
That's on my list as well. Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it wasn't. It was one I was going to talk about later on. I changed it.
Okay.
I swapped it for Mercenary, but I'll let you tell you why you hate it before I do.
Right. Now, this thing, as far as I'm aware, this was the biggest selling game for the Amiga of all time. This crap. So it's it's a genre that I absolutely detest, the cutesy platformer. I don't think of it, I say this in all of the cutesy platformer games that I've reviewed, I don't think of it as a genre, I think of it as a disease. And when Rainbow Islands came out for the Amiga, which it was 89, wasn't it, this came out, this started the whole epidemic of cutesy platformers, which infested the Amiga for about 2 or 3 years, and it's the reason why I don't look back on the Amiga with anything like the sort of fondness that I do of the 64, because the 64 there were so many fantastic games. With the Amiga, yeah, there were some great ones, but there was also just this absolute plethora of utter garbage from all these bloody cutesy platform games, and this was the one that really started it all off. It's just, you look at the visuals, okay, right, they're clearly defined. That's about as close as I can get to saying something positive about it. But they are absolutely vomit-inducing. So cutesy, so nice, so sickeningly sweet. The audio is every bit as, nauseating as the visuals are. The gameplay is, well, just really incredibly dull, because if you're quick enough, when you fire your little rainbow, so you fire that, of course you can then walk up on it, so if you are fast enough you can just keep firing away and walking up your rainbow, you can just get straight to the top of the level doing that. So there's not much in the way of challenge in the gameplay until you get to the end of level bosses, which are then so stupidly difficult. Well, not that I've played the game very many times, but I've never been able to beat the level 1 boss. I can't say that's a bad thing. I have no problem with the fact that I've not been able to progress much in Rainbow Islands at all. I hate everything about it, and more so I hate the fact that this was the game that really kick-started the whole cutesy platformer genre that carried on and on and on for years, and I think ruined the Amiga era. I'll calm down a minute.
You quite finished? Yeah. You know what? Everything you've said is exactly what I've said. I've mentioned on multiple occasions on my channel how much I wouldn't say the word hate, I have absolutely no love, and I don't understand why it gets the praise it gets. I'm sitting watching it at the moment on a video. I mean, it's not the Amiga, it's based on an arcade game, and it's, from what I gather, people say it's one of probably the finest arcade conversions ever. It does look super detailed. For me, it's the original game. I don't know. I don't know whether it's our age, Chris. I mean, I think Bubble Bobble came along first. That came along first. And although I did play Bubble Bobble, I played it with my mates because you could play it 2-player. But it was never a game I was ever going to load up and play myself. I just found it boring. Rainbow Islands, as you say, you can just fire the rainbow and just keep jumping. You go duk 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 duk, and you can. I mean, maybe I've hardly played it. I've tried to like it because people going about it's a wonderful game. I've really given it a go. I thought I'm going to try and play it. You can complete the level very, very easily, or else you can. I mean, I'm sitting watching it here, and you fire rainbows at the platforms, and the platforms themselves turn into fruit, and then you kill a baddie, and it turns into fruit.
That's something that annoys. Why is it always turning into bits of fruit
or sweets like candy or biscuits or something? Yeah. But what the point I'm trying to make is, you can run about and shoot rainbows and kill baddies and pick up fruit. Or else you can just go duk 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 duk, complete the level. It's like, well, make your mind up. Either force me to kill the baddies to progress, or I make it. You've got to kill the baddies to progress. Don't allow me just to jump up the top and complete the level really easily, and give me the option to kill baddies, because picking up bits of fruit and bananas and lemons, whatever, isn't my idea of fun. So don't make that. I don't really get the game. It needs to kind of decide what it wants to be.
My argument, something you mentioned just then, people say, oh yeah, it's the best arcade conversion and everything else. All right, well, okay, yeah, it could be a great arcade conversion. I'm not going to dispute that. But when it's a conversion of a game that is just stomach-turning, nauseating, awful like this, it doesn't matter if the conversion's good or not. It's going to be crap anyway. So the argument that it's a great conversion, to me, that's meaningless. Yeah. So yeah, I've had plenty of people say, oh yeah, well, it's a great conversion. It's a great conversion, but crap game.
If the game's crap to win with. But here's the thing, then. I've never really gotten. I can't think of any game that I really like that's got super, cutie graphics with little pink caterpillars that are you don't want to kill, and they're all just little lovely little graphics. I mean, is there an arcade game that you can think of that's got cute little graphics that you actually enjoy? I mean, the ones that I can think of and I don't enjoy them is Rainbow Islands, obviously. Bubble Bobble I will play.
Rainbow Islands was the sequel to Bubble Bobble, wasn't it?
That was the sequel, and then Parasol Stars.
Parasol Stars came afterwards, and that's even well, I don't know about even worse, but it's just as nauseating.
Again, Parasol Stars had this. It was kind of going back to the Turrican thing. You had this stupid thing. You fired umbrellas. Just give us a laser and let us shoot the caterpillars. Don't allow me to. I don't really see the point of the rainbows in this, because there's platforms I can jump on. Maybe we're missing the point, but then you had what's it called? The New Zealand story. That was just another one of the cute graphics.
If anything, I hate the New Zealand story even more than Rainbow Islands, but it wasn't as it's not one of those games which is universally considered absolutely fantastic like this one is. So that's why I chose this over New Zealand story.
I would never, ever, ever choose to play Rainbow Islands. I would rather play Auf Wiedersehen Pet than play this.
I think I might even go that far myself, yeah. I detest the fact that this game even exists. The other thing, right, you were saying about if it wasn't rainbows and anything else, and it was firing lasers, would it then be good? I'm not so sure, because there is a game like that. You think about it, so you're on these platforms, you've got this water level rising up, you've got to get to the top of the level whilst avoiding or staying ahead of the rising water level, shooting enemies, Did you ever play the Killing Game Show on the Amiga?
Was that the one? No, I'm getting. What's that one where you walk from right to left and you use the mouse to
Oh no, that's Walker.
Walker? Aye.
That was a great game. The
Aye.
Killing Game Show. Well, what I've just described there, that is the Killing Game Show. So basically, if you take Rainbow Islands, give it a sort of reskin it so it looks somewhat high tech, you get the Killing Game Show, and I absolutely detest that game as well. So I think it's the actual game premise itself is just crap to begin with.
I do remember getting the Killing Game Show. I think I got a copy of it, and was it by Psygnosis? Was it Psygnosis?
Yeah, Psygnosis.
And I remember it was like beautiful looking game, but I didn't get on with it at all.
Yeah,
I don't remember much about it. I'm just, again, watching this video here. The making the rainbows bit kind of gets in the way of it. You're trying to jump onto a platform and then you shoot a rainbow and then you end up bloody jumping onto the rainbow instead of the platform, and then the rainbow disappears and you fall down. So it's
it's frustrating to play, and it just doesn't have a single redeeming thing as far as I'm concerned.
No, yeah, totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. So to sum up one sentence, why is Rainbow Islands actually shite?
Because it is utterly stomach-turning, nauseous offal, which was responsible for the cutesy platform infestation on the Amiga for about 2 years to come. That's a pretty good reason to hate it.
Yeah, now, if I've not upset Andrew Braybrook fans enough, then I'm going to be putting the knife in. My last one is Uridium.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, on the C64. Now, I know what you've got up your sleeve, so we'll leave that one for a minute. But, yeah, Uridium. Where'd I start with it? It's a game that, again, when I first saw it, and even now, it's visually... It is a masterpiece. I mean, technically, I don't think you could get a tighter bit of code on the C64. It just looks sublime. The music, the font that he chooses, it's an incredible looking game. The sound's amazing as well. I mean, people say that if it's probably the one C64 game you could literally just take and you could actually make. I'm surprised they never made an arcade game off it. Well, maybe they think, well, why do that? Because who's going to play it when you've got a C64 version of it?
Well, they did that with Choplifter, of course.
That's right. They did. Yeah, they did. It looks stunning. I mean, as I say, technically, when you get to the end of the Dreadnought and it kind of melts and it's shooting left, and it's a bit like was it Empire Strikes Back? Whatever it is, it's trying to escape and this thing.
Oh, Return of the Jedi. Yes, that's right. Yeah,
it's kind of chasing it. It looks amazing. Why do I dislike it? It is just too damned hard. And it's not, well, it is part and parcel due to my weak gaming skills. I don't know, the one thing that really irks me about the game, and I have tried to play it on multiple occasions, I mean, I think there's different versions of it, is you don't, and you were talking about it earlier on, it's not always obvious as to what you can fly over. It's almost too fast. It's, I don't know, is it 60 frames a second, whatever, I don't know.
That is its big problem.
You're zipping along at 100 miles an hour and then and you just hit something and you're like, oh bloody hell, and then you're back to square one again. Everything, I mean, the baddies just come on, and sometimes I'm right in thinking that sometimes the baddies can actually almost like go over you and they don't kill you, or
that's right.
Aye, it's not always
either flying above you or below.
It's not always obvious, and maybe I'm just been playing this game wrong all these years. It's not always obvious as to why you've died, and then obviously you've got the irritating little heat seeker that appears just as you're about to land, and you've got to move. And of course, as you're trying to run away from it, you hit one of these buildings that's kind of
you hit a wall. Yeah,
sticking up. Right. I don't know. Maybe if the game didn't play quite so quick, I might have got on better with it. I just think it's almost too slick for its own good.
I mean, it's a game I don't mind. I wouldn't say I think it's absolutely fantastic, but I mean, I agree with you totally as far as the visuals and the audio go. They're both absolutely spot on. The music's not the greatest you'll ever hear, but it suits the game brilliantly. But yeah, the actual gameplay, the parts of the dreadnought that actually stick up that you can fly into, there are shadows there, so you get some sort of idea that they are, you got to avoid them.
Yeah.
Trouble is, when you're flying along and it comes along so bloody quickly, you can't see the bloody shadows, so you're just going to plough straight in the wall. So you think, all right, it's down. So then you slow down, and then of course the heat-seeking things are constantly there coming after you. You can't shoot them, you have to just avoid them, and then you fly into another one somewhere else. So yeah, it does get pretty frustrating. One thing I would suggest, because I've done reviews of Iridium, which was years ago. It was a dreadful video. It was one of the worst I did. And then more recently, I did Iridium Plus. You might find Iridium Plus is slightly easier.
I'm just going to do a quick search on that just now. So that did that come out as a full like game, or was it how did it come about?
I think it came out as like a twin pack game. It came out with the enhanced version of Paradroid, I forget what that was called, and then you had Iridium Plus on the other side. So you had two games for the price of one. Yeah, I'll let you decide if you think that was.
I'm just watching your video and you immediately collided straight. You're playing for 10 seconds. Boom.
That's the Iridium gameplay experience. But yeah, with the Iridium Plus, the first big plus point with it was you didn't have to wait for the land now signal before you could actually land on the dreadnought.
Right.
If you found the landing strip, you could land straight away, any time you liked. That certainly helped, because the annoying thing I found with the original was, okay, you've made it all the way through the level, you found the landing strip, now you've got to hang around and wait for the land now thing to start sounding before you can actually get off the level. So that I found pretty annoying. But yeah, Iridium Plus, it gets rid of that. That change alone might help it. Also, the layouts of all the dreadnoughts have all been changed.
But going by your gameplay, it's still as difficult.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's easy, that's for sure. It certainly isn't. But it's easier, shall we say.
Yeah. Do you not think the fact that he brought out, although Andrew Braybrick did tend to bring out slightly enhanced versions of these games, do you think the fact that he took away that part, it was probably because people said they found it too difficult?
I don't know. Looking at a lot of other Braybrick's other games, I don't think he really paid a lot of attention to people's complaints about difficulty, because he carried on churning out the quite tough games. I mean, I have no problem with games that are a challenge, but I like them to be a reasonable challenge, not something that's stupidly difficult. And that's something I always associate with Braybrick. His games I thought were too hard.
The thing about, and I mean, you could argue all night, is it a good or bad thing? I always think a game that requires you to play through. I mean, if you played, I'm watching your video and right away you crash instantly. If you repeated play, you'd get to know, well, I need to avoid because I need to move up to the top of the screen because there's barriers. I would always think that a good game is a game that you shouldn't have to play repeatedly. It shouldn't be a memory test. A good player should be able to. I've got mates who are just incredible at arcade games. They should be able to pick up this game and just be good at it. But I would guarantee they would crash as well, because it's kind of unfair. It's very, very unfair.
Yeah, there are. I know a few people who are certainly decent players of shoot 'em ups, and yet I find even with them, when they're playing Iridium, it's almost a degree of luck. They could play, like, they could have one game of it and they get through to like level 6, 7, 8 or whatever. The next 2 or 3 goes, they don't get off level 1. So it's almost a luck of the draw sort of thing. And when a game is starting to do that, yeah, it rather ruins the enjoyment factor of it.
Stops being fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Aye. So yeah, I mean, pretty much to. In fact, I'm watching your video here. The one bit, and I mean that says it all. The one bit of the game that I always enjoyed was the little gambling bit where you get to try and.
Yeah.
Bong, bong, bong.
Yeah.
Bong, bong,
Yeah, that bit I liked. Yeah.
That was my favourite bit of the game.
Yeah. And of course, along came Iridium 2 on the Amiga, and they got rid of that bit. So
really?
they took the one good thing about the game and got rid of it. If you think Iridium is difficult and awful, whatever you do, don't go near Iridium 2 on the Amiga. It's far worse.
There wasn't I can't even say it. There wasn't even was there a Iridium 2 in the C64?
I don't think it ever came out on the 64 because it came along fairly late. It was about 92, 93, something like that.
Yeah.
But steer clear of it, whatever you do.
But yeah, to pretty much summarise Iridium, again, a technically accomplished game. You know, probably it'd probably be the game I would say is most visually. You know, from a technical programming point of view, I'd probably say Iridium is right up there in probably the top 5 Commodore 64 games ever. But as far as being fun to play, no. And that's pretty much why I don't really play the game. It's just no fun to play at all.
I wouldn't go so far as to say no fun, but yeah, it's not one of the best, I'll say that.
What's quite interesting, we've obviously gone through our 5 games. What's interesting is quite a few of them, they're technically incredible, but I don't know. I think Iridium, if you tweak the gameplay slightly, maybe got rid of a few of the barriers that you crash into, taking out a few of these things, it might become a better game.
Yeah, I mean, I was a bit surprised when you chose this because, in case it hasn't been pointed out already, I had no idea about any of the games that you were going to choose. So when you gave this one as your number one, yeah, I was quite surprised about it. I do think that for a fan, like a casual fan of shoot 'em ups, which is definitely me. I'm no shoot 'em up expert.
I love shoot 'em ups.
It's this close to being great for a casual player, but yeah, they just overdid it a bit.
Yeah, possibly again, it's if you practice, you're going to get better at it, and you might get more fun out of it. I've got to say though, these are in no order. You know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I think Impossible Mission would be my worst one ever, but anyway.
Rainbow Islands is definitely my worst.
So we've done 5 each. Is there any other ones you want to just kind of throw in there? I know we did.
Well, there was one that I say up until the last second when I changed it for Zoids, and we're still with Andrew Braybrook because that was Paradroid. And to be honest, when you mentioned Braybrook, I thought you were going to choose this. This was a real, even at the time, it was a real Marmite game. You loved it or you hated it, and I am most definitely in the hate it camp. I don't know when it came out. Was it 85?
You keep talking. I'll have a look.
Well, whenever it came out, I thought that visually it looked staggeringly basic. Visually, I just thought this looks absolute crap. I thought that there were games that I saw. Well, I won't say 84 because that means Impossible Mission and all that. So there were games in
85
85, right.
85.
There were games in 83 that I thought looked visually more impressive than Paradroid. So yeah, in the visual department, it had nothing going for it. A lot of the gameplay is in complete silence, and I thought, well, by 85, we were able to we were already getting, decent music on the 64. So yeah, it's lacking in the visuals and in the audio, and gameplay wise, it's so you're wandering around this ship and going up through the various levels of it, and then you get to the bit that I really can't stand, the
Transfer.
transferring. Yeah, I know that's the area which really does divide. Whether you're a fan of the game or whether you can't stand it. It takes a hell of a lot of practice to actually, well, first of all, to actually realise what it is you're doing. And then once you do realise what you're doing, you then sort of, you're trying to beat the droids, and then you realise you've run out of time, or you've done all of your moves, and then the droid just comes along and counters them, and boss, you're done. So then you realise, right, you've got to wait and do nothing, wait for the droid to do all his moves, then you do all yours, and the chances are the time runs out before you've done all yours, and you're dead again. And it just drives me insane. I can't stand the thing.
I'm kind of sitting in the middle. It's a game that I do play occasionally. I've got to agree with you. I mean, I always remember following. It was the first game that he did a diary off and Zap monthly updates working on this game.
Oh, I didn't realise he had done that one. Yeah. I think that might have been before.
Yeah, that was the game that he did the diary off. Now, when it got released, Zap gave it incredible reviews. Now, I don't know whether, I'm not going to insinuate for 1 second that they gave it a good review because he had been kind of working on it, because I don't know if you remember, Jeff Minter did in the early Zap, I think it maybe the first 3 or 4, Jeff had a column in Zap, and then he brought out Mama Llama, which Zap absolutely panned, and then Jeff and the Zap guys fell out over it, and then he never went back to it. So they didn't give that a good game. But no, Paradroid, yeah, that again, it's an actual plane surface looks okay. Yeah, you're in a kind of spaceship, whatever. But the graphics, you've got these different types of robots. They're just little circular things with a number on it.
Yeah.
And they're like are they monochrome? I think they're all just one colour as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
So that kind of thing's a bit disappointing. Yeah, it's when you play the game again. Well, for me personally, it's quite good when you start off as I can't remember what it's called. You start off as a little basically cleaning droid, and then you can upgrade like a security droid. You got a big mental kind of laser. It's quite good fun.
Yeah.
But it can all go Pete Tong very quickly, because you can only remain in the robot for so long before your energy starts to flash.
Yeah,
and then it downgrades you to a 001. So you're constantly having to move robots, transfer into robots, and so you could get to like a 999, and then you've got to jump back down to a 32 or whatever it is, and so it's quite frustrating. And the transfer game as well. I don't think it doesn't. When you're trying to use the joystick and you move up and down, you're trying to get to the one that's got like 2, and you're going like that, and you can't get to it, and you end up pressing it in the wrong one, and you run out of time. So it's a very, very frustrating game.
Yeah, very.
I like the idea behind it. Again, possibly if it came, well, it did come out in the Amiga. I've never played it in the Amiga.
I don't know if it was an Amiga one. I've never seen one. Anyway.
Yeah, there was Paradroid. I think Paradroid. I don't know. It is out for. I mean, according to this, it came out in Atari ST, the Acorn Archimedes as well, apparently. C64, obviously. Commodore Amiga, yeah. But it never came into Spectrum or Amstrad. No, it didn't. I don't know. I think. I do tend to think it was a game that was overrated.
Oh, massively, yeah. I just can't stand it. If it had been me doing the review, our chances are it probably wouldn't have sold as well.
I bet Andrew Braybrook hates us right now, but no, I mean, there's...
yeah, it probably does, yeah.
Aye, I mean, was it Alley Cat as well? That was a game that it looked, on paper, it looked stunning, but It never.
I thought Cat was one of the ugliest looking games I ever saw. It just didn't have anything going for it. I've never played it, but I've seen reviews of it, and I just think, oh, it looks hideous.
It looks on paper. It looks like the kind of game that I'm going to love, but it doesn't. It needs to make its mind up. Is it a shoot 'em up? Is it a race 'em up? It kind of
I'm pretty
falls.
sure it was meant to be just a racer. I don't think it was meant to be a shooter, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah, you should give it a go. It's just damn difficult. It is damn.
But thinking about it, the only Braybrook game I like is Grizzly's Day Out, which of course rather kills my I hate all of the cutesy game
It
genre.
does.
Because that is certainly one of them. But yeah, I don't mind that game, even though it is bloody difficult.
But listen, I'm going to finish with one last game, I think, because we're just ticked over the 2 hours, and if we've got anybody still watching, I'll be very, very surprised. But maybe if you're watching this video, put a comment below mentioning this last game, just so we know you've actually watched it. If you have stuck with the video this long, thanks very much for doing so. The last game, and I know we both mentioned this game a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about this next video, and it is a Ball Blazer by LucasArts.
LucasArts, yes.
Ball Blazer. Now, on paper, it's a game I should love. I'm quite a big fan of sports games on the old 8-bit. You know, any kind of sports game where you can play like football, whatever, futuristic football. I mean, what isn't there to love? You know, you see the game running, it looks incredible. I remember seeing it, you know, running in the Atari, and it just looks amazing. It's got this real Space Harrier Trailblazer graphic.
Yeah,
it looks incredible,
and it runs at a hell of a rate as well. So again, visually impressive.
Yeah, it's probably, I don't know, 60 frames a second, whatever it is. Again, graphically looks awesome. And I think the idea is you play as this, whatever it is, you're inside this kind of pod, and it's 1-on-1. And the idea is to pick up the ball and shoot it through the goals of the opposing player. And that's when the problems start. I could not physically figure out where I was, or it just seemed to be completely messy. I don't know. I couldn't get the game. I couldn't physically play it. Me and my mates did try to play it, and I think does your pod always face the ball or something? So you're always
Yeah, so if the ball is ahead of you, obviously you're looking straight on. If it comes, I'll just make sure it's in the camera here. So if it then comes to your side, your pod instantly flips round to face it. Then it gets behind you and it flips round again. So it's always going to be facing the ball, but not necessarily always facing the opponent's goal. It's only once you've actually got control of the ball, then you'll flip round again and automatically be facing the opponent's goal there.
Yeah, again, it's on paper it sounds like it should be the best game ever, but just I think maybe there wasn't like a map or anything. Possibly they had some kind of map to show you where you were. I don't know. I just found it all too confusing, and yet I think Zap Magazine loved it. I think they get
They gave it a massive rating. I think it got as much as 98.
Really?
It definitely got a gold medal. Like a number of people, I'm guessing this also applies to you. I went out and bought it on the strength
buy
of
it on disc, I think, yeah.
I only got the cassette version, so at least I only wasted 10 quid. I mean, okay, I'm not a fan of it. I don't hate it as much as just about everybody else I know. I've never heard anyone say they think it's a good game. I think it's a game I can tolerate for about half an hour or so, and then I'll put it away and never look at it again for another year, and then I may occasionally bring it out again. But yeah, it's certainly not a good game, not at all.
I think again for me possibly it's just down to, I mean you played it for half an hour. I just couldn't physically get my head around how the game actually works. Possibly if I did, I might actually enjoy the game. So maybe it's maybe unfair for me to be criticising it when I didn't really, because, and I think Jeff Minter, when Zap Magazine tore Mama Llama to shreds, he was upset because he says, how can you you've got to actually play the game. You can't. It's unfair to judge a game purely. Well, the old phrase, you can't judge a book by its cover. You shouldn't play a game for 5 minutes and go, what a lot of that's the biggest pile of crap I've ever played. You need to make a point. Jeff Minter's always taken a lot of time to sort of build in game mechanics, and you've got to learn the game. But even now, I've tried to play it and I'm completely lost. So that may be true of Ball Blazer. Perhaps if I'd actually made the effort to learn the game, I might have enjoyed it. But you're saying that you did, and you still think it's crap.
I don't think that would make any difference, because I mean the problem with Ball Blazer is once you've played it once, you've seen everything there is. There's no variety. There's the difficulty level of the in the AI, whether you're playing the level 1 or level 9 droids or whatever. But that's it. Visually, it looks exactly the same all the time. Once you've seen the game moving, that's everything you're going to see in it. So your first impression with Ball Blazer is always going to be the impression that lasts. That's why I say everyone else I know hates the game. My opinion of it is, when I reviewed it, it was one of the earliest games I did. I think it was only about the third or fourth game I covered, and I gave it 4 out of 10, and that is by far the highest rating I've ever seen from like anyone on YouTube or anyone I knew back in the day who played it. It's one of those where it was popular with the reviewers, it seems, but I don't know anyone who came close to actually agreeing with them.
Do you think it was people, the Zap reviewers or whoever it was just they got blown away with the visuals? Because visually it is quite a striking game. When you first see it running, it does look, wow, this looks amazing, until you realise the whole checkered board that is the game. You've seen everything it's got to offer. When you actually scratch beneath the surface of the graphics, you realise, wait a minute, somebody's kind of forgot to add the gameplay in here. Is it more a technical demo? I don't know.
Yeah, part of me wonders if one of the reasons Zach rated it so highly is because it was a LucasArts game, because they were already mad about Rescue on Fractalus. I think they gave Coroner's Rift a pretty good rating.
I think I got a gold medal, didn't know? Yeah, I think.
And the Eidolon they absolutely raved about, and with those 3 games they deserve the ratings. They're all absolutely fantastic. So I think they just reviewed Ball Blazer with the opinion this is going to be absolutely superb. So right from the get-go they were looking for positives wherever they could find it, and somehow they managed to find a hell of a lot and ended up giving it that sort of rating. So I wonder if the review was a bit skewed, because, like I say, of all the games that I've played, including modern ones, I've never seen another one like Ball Blazer where the actual professional reviews are so different to the opinions of everybody else I know who's played the thing. So we've got plenty of here where, the reviews were all great and everybody else thought they were great and we don't like them. But with this one, so I just don't know anybody who agreed with the review and said it was good.
Well, interesting to know, you guys, did anybody actually like Ball Blazer? Did anybody actually play it regularly? It's an interesting point. I thought I was kind of in minority, thinking that I just didn't really get the game. I just couldn't really gel with it at all. But you're saying it was pretty much...
Yeah, in my experience, your opinion mirrors everybody else's.
Interesting. I know there's a few C64 kind of fanboys that watch my channel. Interested to know what you guys, if indeed you're actually watching this far. If you are, I bow to your stamina for watching this. But yeah, be interested to know what you think. So I think, listen, Chris, I think we're going to bring this video to a close. We're 2 hours and 10 minutes.
I think we're overdue that. Yeah.
I mean, we could quite easily make another sequel to this thing. Let you guys let us know what you think of these videos. I really enjoy making them with you, Chris. It's good fun. There's nothing better than talking about rubbish games.
getting a chance to vent about guff like Rainbow Islands. Yeah.
So we've already made the definitive 20 worst games ever. I think we'll get our collective heads together and we'll come up with another one for maybe a couple of weeks' time.
We'll find something
We'll
to
do something.
about, yeah.
So anyway, guys, listen. It just remains for me to say thank you very much for joining Chris and I for this video. I hope you do find it entertaining. Please remember, this is Chris and I, is our hobby. It's not a job that we do. It's a bit of fun. It is only our opinion. You know, it doesn't mean that we're right, even though we are. But anyway, yeah. So anyway, guys, as always, thank you very much for watching, and thanks for joining me, Chris.
No worries.
Cheers, guys.